The day I saw his smile, I didn't know it was hiding the sharpest knife of betrayal. It looked warm. It looked familiar, the kind of smile that tells you, "Don't worry, I've got your back." But in time, I would learn that behind that smile lived secrets, lies, and a darkness that would tear my world apart. My name is David, and if there's one thing you should know about me, it's this. I believed in loyalty more than anything else. To me, loyalty wasn't just a word. It was a way of life. If I called you a friend, you weren't just in my life. You were a part of my family. And if I loved you, I gave you everything I had. My time, my trust, my heart. For years, I thought this way of living made me strong. People respected me. People leaned on me. People told me I was the kind of man you could count on. But what I didn't realize was that the same loyalty I carried like a badge of honor was also the very chain that would drag me into the deepest kind of betrayal. Because the truth is, not everyone values loyalty the same way. Not everyone means the words they speak. And sometimes the person you would fight for is the one secretly fighting against you. I learned that the hard way. You see, life has this cruel way of teaching lessons you never asked for. Lessons that cut deeper than anything you can imagine. And my lesson came wrapped in the face of someone I trusted most. Someone I let into every corner of my world. Someone I would have defended, even if it meant losing everything else. But he didn't see me the way I saw him. To him, I wasn't a brother. I wasn't a friend. I was just a stepping stone, one he could stand on until he got where he wanted to be. At first, I didn't notice it. Betrayal never walks in through the front door. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in quietly, with small cracks, little shadows that you ignore because you don't want to believe they're real. And so I kept trusting. I kept giving. I kept believing, until the day the truth hit me so hard it nearly destroyed everything I had built. I can still remember that moment. The silence in the room, the sting in my chest, the way the world seemed to tilt, as if the ground beneath me was no longer safe. In one single breath, I saw the mask ripped away, and the man I thought I knew became a stranger I couldn't even look at. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just break your heart. It changes you. It forces you to see the world differently, forces you to look at yourself differently. You start asking questions you never asked before. How could I be so blind? Why did I trust so deeply? How long was the knife already in my back before I even felt it? And the more I asked, the more one answer kept rising inside me. Revenge. Not the kind that's loud and reckless. Not the kind that burns you along with your enemy. No, my revenge would be quiet, patient, and precise. Because if loyalty had been my greatest strength, betrayal had just given me a new one. The power to wait, to plan, and to strike when no one expected it. And when I finally did, when I finally revealed the truth in a way he never saw coming, he was left completely speechless. But let me not get ahead of myself. Before I tell you how I turned his betrayal into the greatest revenge of my life, you need to understand the man I was before all of this. You need to see how deeply I trusted, how much I gave, how blind I was to the storm that was already gathering around me. Because only then will you understand why my revenge was not just about justice. It was about survival. So let's go back. Back to the beginning when his smile still looked like safety, and his words still sounded like truth. Back to when I thought loyalty was enough to protect me. Back to when I didn't yet know that the person I trusted most would be the one to shatter me completely. And when you hear what he did, you might ask yourself the same question I asked. What would you do if the person you loved most became the one who destroyed you? I'll tell you what I did. I stayed silent. I pretended not to know, and I began crafting a plan so perfect, so unexpected, that by the time he realized what was happening, there was nothing left for him to say. What he did to me almost destroyed everything, but what I did to him, that left him speechless, and this is the story of how it all happened. Before the storm, there was calm. Before betrayal tore through my life like a knife through paper, there were quiet days, full of routines, laughter, and the kind of trust you never think twice about. Looking back now, it almost feels like another life, a life that belonged to someone else, someone untouched by the sting of betrayal. Back then, I thought I had everything I needed. I was working a steady job at an architecture firm. Nothing flashy, nothing glamorous, but it was honest work, and I was proud of it. I loved shaping ideas into something real, watching lines on paper turn into structures people could touch, live in, call home. To me, that was more than just a career. It was a way of leaving a mark, even if nobody knew my name. And through it all, he was there. Michael. If you had asked me then who my closest friend was, I would have said his name without a second thought. Michael wasn't just a friend. He was my brother in every way but blood. We had known each other since high school. I can still remember the first time we talked. Two kids on the basketball court, both too stubborn to give up the ball. We argued for a while, then ended up laughing about it, and from that day forward, we were inseparable. Over the years, we grew together. We went from teenagers with big dreams to men trying to carve out our place in the world. And through all of it, the late-night talks, the struggles, the victories, I never once questioned his loyalty. Michael was charming. He had this way of lighting up a room, of making people feel like they mattered. He was the kind of guy everyone wanted to be around. But more than that, he was the one person I thought I could rely on no matter what. He was there when my mother passed away, sitting in silence with me when no words could ease the pain. He was there when I got my first big promotion, raising a glass as if my victory was his own. And I was there for him too. Every breakup, every failure, every time he called at 2 a.m. saying he had no one else to talk to, I showed up. That's who I was, loyal to the core, and I believed, with everything in me, that loyalty was mutual. We shared everything, dreams, secrets, even plans for the future. We used to sit on the old porch outside my apartment talking about the lives we wanted to build. I wanted to create something lasting with my career. He wanted freedom, to start his own business, to never work for anyone else again. And I believed in him. I believed in his passion, his drive, his vision. Sometimes I even believed in him more than I believed in myself. That was my first mistake, because if I had been paying closer attention, I might have noticed the small cracks, the little moments where things didn't quite add up, like the times he borrowed money and brushed it off with a laugh, promising to pay me back soon. Or the way his smile sometimes didn't reach his eyes when I told him good news. Back then, I ignored those signs. I told myself, that's just Michael. He's going through things. Friends don't keep score. But maybe I should have kept score, because loyalty is a two-way street. And when you're the only one walking it, sooner or later, you realize you've been walking alone the whole time. Still, at that point, I didn't see it. To me, Michael was still my brother, the man I would trust with my life. I remember one evening in particular, a moment that should have warned me, but instead I let it slip through my fingers. We were sitting at our usual diner, the place we'd been going to since we were teenagers. The waitress knew our names, knew our orders by heart. Michael was talking about some new business deal he was chasing. His eyes lit up when he talked about it, his voice full of excitement. But then, just for a second, his tone shifted. He said something like, "You know, Dave, not everyone gets what they deserve. Sometimes you have to take it for yourself." I laughed it off at the time, thought it was just one of those throwaway comments people make when they're frustrated. But now I hear it differently. It was more than frustration. It was a window into the way he thought, the way he saw the world. He wasn't talking about working hard or chasing dreams. He was talking about taking, about using, about grabbing what he wanted, even if it belonged to someone else. But I didn't hear it that way then. I was too busy believing in him, too busy trusting that his ambition would never clash with my loyalty. That was my second mistake, because if betrayal is a storm, then those little moments, the borrowed money, the hollow smiles, the strange comments, those were the first raindrops. And I, blind in my trust, didn't even feel the water. Back then, life still felt safe, predictable. I thought I had chosen my people wisely. I thought Michael and I were unshakable. I thought loyalty was enough to hold everything together. I was wrong, because while I was busy building a life on trust and friendship, he was already building something else, something darker, something meant to tear down everything I had. And the saddest part, I had no idea. All I saw was my best friend sitting across from me, smiling, laughing, planning a future we thought we'd share. I didn't see the storm behind his eyes. I didn't see the betrayal already taking shape. Not yet, but the cracks were there, and soon they would split wide open,